Hello everyone, welcome to month 9 of my Korean learning adventure, primarily through immersion of course. But let's just get straight into it. Month 9, that's I guess kind of a milestone. You know, it's part of the divisible by 3 thing. But yeah, let's jump into it because there's a few cool things. I might actually just make this bigger because I feel like it's probably just too small. And no one can probably read it. But anyway, let's look at some of the stats further. Let's just jump into stats. I actually wrote a lot of notes throughout the month, but I wrote so much that I'm not going to go through it. And instead, I attempted to sum it up, but I may have made it long, regardless. But anyway, so we're at 2,361 known words in Kimchi Reader, which is great. Plus 997, almost 1,000 from last month. This is mostly because I finally kind of like got through a backlog of words that should have been marked as known a long time ago or a while ago. So, but I did learn a lot of new words too. Seeing words is at 565 at the moment. For Anki, 29 days of 31 days, 8,488 reviews. 755 young cards, 3,721 mature cards. Yep, standard stuff. Missed 2 days, but that's okay. We recovered, all good. In terms of like my hours spent, 51 hours were active, 1 hour was output, 86 total hours. Year to date, we're at 417 hours of active input. 636 hours of like total hours excluding passive input, which I haven't been tracking or doing any of lately because I feel like it's kind of redundant. And then if you want to include some of the passive input I did a while ago last year, 699 total hours. So yeah, I briefly touched on starting some more output this month. Like I did journal writing. I recorded myself talking on a topic, like talking about what I did for the day. It's pretty difficult and I catch myself making a lot of mistakes, but each time I did it, I was definitely better. And same with the journal writing too. So I only did it a few times this month, but maybe like 3 journal entries and 3 sessions of me talking to myself and recording myself. But ideally, I'd like to do that, like one of those activities once per day, if I can. So this month in February now, it's the 1st of Feb now. So I want to try and focus a lot more on output. Like I want to lock in and get a tutor and try to do something weekly or fortnightly. But I don't really want to be just like a, hey, tutor, you take the reins sort of thing. I want it to be like a place where I practice conversation. I practice natural conversation in like, a safe space. I get recasts, I get corrections, and I mean, I want harsh corrections and recasts. Like, I don't want to be unknowingly making mistakes. Like, if I have to be corrected every word, every sentence, then so be it, right? That's how I get better. And I want to work on my pronunciation too, because another thing too is my girlfriend says too that my pronunciation, like when I talk to her, is pretty good. But as soon as I start talking to other people, then my pronunciation kind of tanks. Whether that's nerves or just other things, then it could be, just probably likely nerves, but it is something I am conscious of and I would like to fix. And like, I'd love if my pronunciation could be pretty good no matter who I'm talking to, right? Or what situation I'm in. Yeah, and I want to potentially look into like other forms of output too, like making use of my virtual reality headset to maybe talk to native Korean speakers on VR chat, though I totally think I would get lost and I'd be too shy. But more so I'd probably get lost in the conversation, just not understand or be able to structure my thoughts coherently. So I don't know if I'm quite ready for that. But anyway, maybe I will be. Who knows? Might as well just try. So yeah, I'll continue journaling, recording myself too. And I wrote some like other ideas of what other methods of output to do. Like you could write a journal in English, translate it to Korean, and then like write it. and eventually like I haven't really been doing this. I've just been going straight into Korean, and then not really been doing this. I've just been writing it in Korean and then correcting my mistakes at the end by like giving it to ChatGPT. But to be honest, I think if I could give it to like a Korean native speaker instead, then I think that would be much more beneficial for sure. So I probably should do that. I probably should give my my diary entries to Korean native speakers for them to correct it for me, and I think that would be actually probably a big help. Also like read it out loud. And another one like I've seen is like describing an image as well. Like he could pick an image and just try to describe what the scene of that image is in Korean. I think that's another good way of practicing output too. There's this other method too where you could like speak to yourself in Korean, and just when you get stuck. When I've been getting stuck, I've just been like, concede, give up. But you could like look up what I was trying to say in English and translate it and say it a few times, add it to a flashcard deck. You could do that too. I think that's another good approach, but I haven't tried it. Yeah, that's sort of it on output. But I've changed my Anki reviews a little bit. For my Kimchi sentence mining deck, which I've been, mining away making, I do, for that deck specifically, I listen to the audio and I repeat what was said 3 times, and then I, based on whether I understand the sentence / the word, mostly kind of based on the sentence, then I'll, mark it as a pass, and if not, I'll fail it. And I think this has been really good because then I get like micro level pronunciation Apple practice during my Anki reviews, and it does take me like 30-45 minutes to get through that deck each day. But now I'm roughly spending 60 to 80 minutes on Anki per day, which is, if you've seen my previous videos, I kind of previously aimed for 30 minutes per day. But I'll touch on later why I've upped my Anki review time. But for the other Anki pre-made decks, I've just continued the usual review process of simply listening and reading without repeating. You know what I might do? I might like collapse these. Maybe there's probably a button to do this that I just don't know. But anyway. Yeah, there we go. Now it looks nicer. Woo! There's probably not as much information overload. Oh, look, I wrote it here. Yeah, in the past, I've always tried to make sure I just spend that 30 minutes because I didn't want to burn myself out. But I've noticed how important vocabulary sort of is, and I've like, yep. And like how much it's helped me improve my Korean listening and understanding. So I'm like, yeah, you gotta keep upping the time spent doing Anki because it's just, it feels good. It does feel like a big help. Yeah, I guess the reasoning behind why I've upped how much Anki I do per day is because there seems to be like a lot of decent evidence to suggest that doing more active study, like Anki alongside immersion, is more beneficial than weighting immersion too highly. I think I've had this problem pretty much majority of last year where I kind of just immersed, I spent 30 minutes in Anki today and I just immersed and hoped that, I would understand things just by watching, but I don't think it's like that simple. I think your immersion is there to complement everything and your active study is there to complement your immersion. I think it's like a balancing game. It needs to be somewhat even to some extent. Otherwise you just don't get anything out of it. You don't get anything out of the immersion then. So I don't want to be immersing too much when my vocab or speaking isn't quite there yet. And I also just need to think about what are my goals with Korean, like what's most important to me. And I think for other people learning languages or Korean too, I think it's important for you to think about, why? How will learning X language or Korean benefit me and yield the most real life benefit in this current time, the short term and the future too. But I think highlighting the short term is a bit more important because what do you want to focus on? Like why are you learning Korean? Why are you learning this language? What do you want to get out of it? Do you want to understand music, dramas, YouTube? Do you want to speak to people? And you should adjust your routine to align with your goals. Like if speaking is a high value item for you, like if you have a lot of Korean friends who speak Korean and you want to, talk to them, or you have a Korean speaking partner and you want to just be able to, talk to them in Korean, then you probably should consider weighting your speaking practice a lot higher than maybe immersion. I mean, that's hard to do. You'd be speaking a lot per day to do that, but I think that's something you should think about. Whether if you just want to understand music and dramas on YouTube, then go listen to music, dramas on YouTube and study that instead. Like, I think you should knuckle down on what your goal is, and rather than just trying to be too much of an all-rounder or too much of, an understander. Like, if you want to just understand, then fine, do it. If you want to speak, then do lots of speaking. I think you should cater your routine to what will give you the most IRL, in real life benefit for like your current situation. I think that's like an underrated thing to think about. I mean, that's sort of what I've realized too. And I think speaking for me is evidently becoming more and more important, especially because I'll probably end up going to Korea in the next few months too. So I want to adjust from focusing so much on understanding to being able to speak comfortably. And that's not going to get any better unless I practice speaking. I'm not going to get better at speaking if I don't practice it. So that's sort of that mini rant is just about. And I think if speaking is a high value ticket for you, then you should probably maybe not delay it if it will benefit you in the short term. I also just got some random notes on the plain form here, and for some reason I had this intuition in the past that when you say plain form when you're speaking to someone in casual speech, it sounds sort of like not an explanation, an exclamation. Look, I can't even type. Exclamation. English is hard, right? It sounds like an exclamation. Like you might say 맛있겠다, 맛있다, 날씨가 너무 좋다. You might say something like that out loud, but it's fine when you are. It sounds like you're talking and journaling, blogging to yourself, right? And it works fine if you're just making an exclamation to yourself out loud. It's fine, right? 맛있겠다, 날씨가 너무 좋다. Like if you just say that, it's kind of just you're talking to yourself. It's just an exclamation, right? But when talking to someone about something, you shouldn't use it. It sounds very robotic. I've been caught up on this, so in case anyone else just has this preconceived notion that it sounds excited or happy, nah, it's not like that. I always thought when you say plain form in casual speech out loud, it sounds like happy. It's an exclamation, but you don't want to be doing it when you're talking to someone. It's just talking to yourself. I think just keep that in mind too if you've thought similarly in the past too. And I've just, as I mentioned before, I've realized how important vocab is for comprehension for both listening and reading. And I know it sounds really stupid and really obvious, but it's so true. I really want to hammer that home, that all of last year I was kind of I doubted my skills and blamed a lot of my listening ability on just my listening skills. When it was actually just an issue of I just didn't know enough words. I didn't know enough vocab to be able to listen, because I didn't know what the words I was listening to actually were and what they meant. The more words you know, the more you'll comprehend, and the more you'll learn, because you'll more likely encounter sentences that have one word you don't know, and then you can learn from that. What is that word? I get that sentence. I get everything in that sentence, but what is that one word? That's what that word means. And you'll get more of those moments. So I think vocab is really OP, and I think I didn't realize how important that is for just comprehension. And it's so obvious, but damn, if I could go back in time to when I first started learning Korean 9 months ago, or even 6 months ago, and just say, no, you can't just be immersing and thinking you'll learn words and turning off subtitles to practice listening, when really it's just a problem of you don't know enough words. It's really silly. But anyway, that's what I'd tell past self. So if anyone else is in there, starting learning Korean, I would really recommend focusing a lot on vocab and try not to shift blame onto listening or reading ability, when you ultimately vocab is king. Vocab is king. But these days I do feel like I'm the best at comprehending Korean that I've ever been. I don't need LLMs to summarize plots of episodes before I watch them. As long as I watch them with subtitles, I understand the plot of the show or the drama or the movie. YouTube, I'm finding a little bit harder to follow for some reason, but that's like actual native YouTube content, not learner podcast. Learner podcast I follow really easily too. But yeah, that's how I went into here, that even watching some YouTube videos or podcasts without subs, and I've been using subs pretty much every single time for the last month, but even without subs, my comprehension surprises me. Like, it's not even comparable to 1 or 2 months ago. I felt like I understood much less when listening. So I'm like in this transition phase where I'm noticing like where thanks to learning a lot of vocab and going hard at vocab for the last month or two, that I've noticed like a huge improvement to reading and listening when I haven't really been too focused on listening particularly. Like I've used subs this whole time last month. But yeah, it's silly to notice this now, but past slide, vocab is king, vocab equals comprehension. So I will keep writing vocab. But I am really proud of where I'm at right now, and I want to start outputting and speaking more and just get it caught up to my reading and listening, because I want to have an all-round skill set. I don't want to be too good at reading and listening and then can't even say it, can't hold a conversation with someone. I want to be able to do all three pretty equally. And I also read this article that I'll probably link in the description too, by Paul Nation. But just like, what do you need to know to learn a foreign language? And it does split like input, output, deliberate study, and fluency development, like all equally into its own sections. But this is just the sort of structure that Paul Nation suggests that you should do to learn a language. And I think it's good, and I think you should cater whatever you do to your goals. If you want to speak more, then speak more. If you want to listen more, you want to watch dramas more. If you want to watch YouTube more. I think whatever your goals are, you should tailor your routine to it as much as you can. But that might be a lot more obvious to other people than it has been to me. So you might be all on top of it. I also got a diary where I write down words that I should know. So like if I come across during immersion, I'm like, what is that word? It's marked as seen or it's marked as known. And I'm like, I'll click it and I'm like, right. And then I'll write it down. So I think this has just been good for like seeing what words I should know that I just randomly forget during immersion. So I think it's a cool idea. But what I've immersed in, we've got dramas, Summer Strike, easy to follow plot. That was pretty good. Basic storyline, but I quite enjoyed it. One Spring Night. I still have like 3 episodes to go, I think. But I'm actually kind of digging the storyline a lot. It's a romance, and I dig a romance, but it's a realistic one, and I appreciate the realism. It's also easy to follow, though harder than Summer Strike, as there is more business talk. In terms of books, I'm still up to reading the Bakke Kejo. I think I'm like 38% through it now. Slowly getting there. But if I could finish a book, that'd be excellent. But I'll get there. And I'm also like 30% through short stories and green for medium letters. But I feel like some of the language in this book feels unnatural and just very easy to follow. So it's kind of turning me off the book a lot, just because the language just seems unnatural. But anyway, it's easy to follow. YouTube usual DD, all things Korean podcast stuff. Halfway through Chim Chung Man's talk with Animix Mez. That's been pretty funny. There's some Minecraft content that I've been watching. It's League of Legends content too. Another funny YouTube video that had Nmix Lily. This was quite funny. As an Australian, fellow Australian, it's just comedy. It's good fun, and I need to do a better job of tracking my YouTube immersion too, because I want to do more YouTube immersion, but I'm still like finding what I like, so it is what it is. But anyway, I kind of covered everything I want to talk about, but I guess I can briefly like look at some of my stats and stuff. Like when I look at last month, then that's it there. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Look at this year. Last year. Yeah. And like maybe move this to the 31st of the 1st, 2026. To get everything. Yeah, that's everything, I guess. And we can go look at some stats too. Stats, yeah. Scroll, 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 scroll. Scroll, 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 scroll. Yeah. I think that's really it. I wanted this video to be a lot shorter, but I'm over 20 minutes again somehow. So it seems that I just don't shut up and I just keep talking. So I'll better end it here before I talk again for another 20 minutes. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next month. Hopefully I have some cool updates regarding output. If I don't, then shame on me. But I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Have a good one.